Hi, Nancy Lee Vidra again. Now I'm going to talk to you about holons. It's a concept that we in Pyramid Feng Shui use because, as I mentioned, if we don't get to the core or the most fundamental goals a person wants, we can't feng shui their home so they can achieve their life dreams. How do we get to the core? Well, we use something called a holon. A holon is the structure of a process as it's built from its fundamental source. The perfect example is you. You started out as one egg and one sperm. That was the fundamental process as you started out. And it kept growing from there. When you were fully formed in a physiological sense, you came in this world and other influences were brought to bear on your final development. So if you think of a holon as always starting from the base, the fundamental form a person has, and building up from there, because as you know, without a base, a pyramid couldn't rise as high in the sky as it does. And so we use that as a symbol of what we're seeking. We're seeking the fundamental information about a person, and as those pieces of who they are become clearer and clearer and healthier, you reach the top of the pinnacle on which you can just fly and do whatever your particular goals are and what you particularly want. Now, there are many. We have 12 holons in Pyramid Feng Shui. But I'd like to talk to you about two of them because they are fundamental to all others. Let's start with, call me crazy, let's start with the Feng Shui holon. The base of the Feng Shui holon is a concept we call the Tao. The Tao is the fundamental connections we have with everything in our lives. They could be connection to our own talents. They could be connections to a social network, a sense of identity in terms of what we do and who we are. But those connections, or that Taoist part of our lives, represents basically how we can thrive from there up. It is our foundation. In a home, for example, what are the connections? How do the different rooms relate to themselves? Sometimes it's the pathways that circumvent whole areas of a home that people hardly go by. So you look at what is the overall connectivity of the home. You look at the connectivity of different areas to each other. You look for the connectivity of the room to its fundamental purpose. For example, if a family den, if one of the purposes is for the children to do their homework in the room, and there's not a comfortable place where they can sit, where there's appropriate lighting, where they have some sort of sense of isolation and distance from other activities they may be having, how can you expect them to thrive? Now, the next up on the holon are yin and yang. Now, once you have connectivity, you have to have variations. Yin and yang talks about these variations, these oppositions that together form a whole. If those of you who eat, which I'm sure is everybody listening to this video, you know that sugar and salt are the opposites of the kinds of food sources that we can have, and that they are the drivers for what makes food delicious, be it on the sweet side or be it on the salty side. So we look for the yin and yang in a home, those flavors that expand, that bring to full fruition those parts of a home so that a person can thrive in a whole way. The next one up is, after all, we take in all our information through our sensorial systems. Now, this is what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we feel, and what we touch. Okay? Now, are all those systems being satisfied? If you have a home in which, for example, let's say there's not a variety of scents, well, then you live in a home that doesn't use one very fundamental part of your sensorial system. And you will learn in your book how primal the sense of smell is. As a matter of fact, when our primordial species, our predecessors, came out of the primordial ooze, all they had, the only sensorial system they had that connected them with the outside world, was smell. So it's a brainstem, it's very, very basic. So we look for that package and how that relates to the home. The next one up are the elements. And the elements are, consider the elements are paint, the variety of colors we have with our paint. Although elements do relate to color and shape, they create a palette, a larger vocabulary through which our home can communicate with us. And again, going on through up to the top, we talk about our personal choices, those things that you particularly select because you want that in your home. That could be your art, your knickknacks, all your personal icons, the things you put on the wall, the things you put on the table. How does that express the best and highest sense of who you are? So a holon is something that we look at from the ground up in a particular vein. You will find Maslow's hierarchy of self-needs, which is probably the most famous of all holons, which starts as physiology, what's your biological wholeness, up to your transcendence, which means that you no longer have goals and wishes because everything is an experience, you've transcended desire. So read the 12 holons carefully, and when you look in your home, and we've broken down all the holons, so you can see color holon, scent holons, if you want to use the feng shui holon, Tao holon, start from the bottom up and say, how successfully have I, or your client, how successfully have they created a strong foundation, and how high up, how many levels of that holon have been satisfied and actualized? Because you will find that the structure of the holons in your home will reflect how high up or to what degree you have achieved your personal goals. Thank you.